Let's explore some of the paradoxes and, I guess, frameworks for understanding right and wrong. Now, the first thing to understand is that this is more of an engineering question. And the larger kind of context is the enjoyment of life, right? It's enjoyable for life to expand, to evolve. And in the ultimate evolution, life is moving towards conscious, sustainable fun. Now, let's look into that one just briefly because it's an interesting formula. Pain leads to a response, right? Nobody wants to feel pain. Everyone wants to feel good. Pain leads to awareness. Awareness leads to a response. The response iterates until there is less pain or death. When there is less pain, that continues to gain momentum, right? When we find something, whatever it is, that reduces our pain, it may be a short-term kind of addictive reduction, but we'll tend to do more of that. But short-term addictive reductions in pain don't work long-term. So we'll eventually deal with the long-term pain, then we'll start dealing with it at a long-term level. And then we finally succeed at what? Reducing pain and accelerating well-being in some area. Now, as we do that, that's success, right? And we keep iterating success, finding what? Finding what is sustainable, finding what's fun, right? So the more deeply we dive into pain, the more deeply we dive into consciousness. And the more deeply we dive into consciousness, the more conscious we are as we eventually, in our iterations and experimentations, move towards success. And what success ultimately is, we can say, oh, I want independence. Okay, I'm independent. What next? Well, I want pleasure. Okay, I have pleasure. You know, what next? I want freedom. Okay, I'm free, right? I create freedom. What do I want that freedom for? Eventually, the intersection of competency and desire meet in this pinnacle of conscious, sustainable fun. That's the ultimate goal, right? Because if you look at why you want power, well, you want power so that you can avoid being dominated. Why? Because being dominated isn't a lot of fun, right? Having someone tell you what to do, and then you say, I don't want to do that, and they say, well, I don't care, do it anyway, or I'll hurt you. Why? Because I have the power to hurt you, and you don't have the power to stop me. And so I want power, but why? Why do you want power? Right? It's so that you can avoid more of what you want to avoid and create more of what you want to create. So you want power to facilitate more well-being. You want freedom. Well, who cares about freedom? Well, then I can do what I want to do. Okay, who cares about that? Well, if I do what I want to do, then I'll have more fun. I'll feel good, right? So a lot of these, different goals, discipline, being fit, being sexy, having money, learning skills, whatever whatever the aim is towards, they are enablers, meaning they're not a goal in and of themselves, right? If you look sexy, but never have sex, who cares, right? You look sexy to have more sex. If you have sex, who cares? No, you have sex to enable pleasure, psychological and physical pleasure. And so why do you want the pleasure, right? Because it feels good. You want to feel sustainably better, right? And fun feels better than, just pleasure, right? It has a certain lightness about it. Fun is, an end in and of itself. You don't have fun to gain power. You have power to move towards fun. You don't have freedom, or you don't have fun so that you can be more free, right? Being free is more fun, so you want freedom so that you can have more fun, right? And so, the sense of, am I on the right course, is asked in reference to values. Am I on the right course can be answered by the question, am I heading towards conscious, sustainable fun? If I am, I'm on the right course. If I'm heading towards conscious, sustainable misery, well, I'm 50% there, right? I've got the consciousness there. I'm if that's the goal, I want to be miserable, right? I want to know exactly how I'm doing the misery. Well, then you could say I'm learning mastery around misery that later I may be able to transfer towards mastery in the area of fun and success. So the right path references values, and the highest value in the value hierarchy is conscious, sustainable fun. That's where it all leads, right? That's where it will eventually all end up. Why? Because pain leads to adaptation, leads to intense reaction, which and leads to consciousness, which leads to success. You gain mastery if you focus intensely on something, right? With consciousness, right? So if I burn my hand, I learn I don't like burning, but I also focus intensely, and so I end up learning a lot about heat, right? If I've got this burn, I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about how not to do it again, so I'm going to end up with more competence on how to avoid burns. Well, that same competence of knowing how to avoid being burned again is a competence that can be used to understand other areas of reality. And the more we understand about reality, the more we can create a relationship with that reality. And the more mastery we have in that relationship, the more we move the relationship in the direction of our values, in the direction of conscious, sustainable fun. So that's the right path. That's right. And everything else is in support of that, right? And when we go off the path, when we get caught up in revenge, for example, having revenge is more fun and more conscious than feeling helpless and I wish I could do something and there's nothing I can do, right? So you have to be more competent and more conscious in order to have revenge than, gosh, I just feel absolutely terrible and there's nothing I can do about it and I'm just stuck, right? No, I can have revenge, right? You have to figure something out. You have to develop competence. That person, they hurt my sister, that I'm going to have revenge, right? So that there's more competence. But once you've figured out how to take exceptional revenge, Maybe you have to get in shape, right? Because they were a fast assailant and you weren't in shape, right? They were competent, but you weren't, right? So you have to get in shape and do various things about that. And then they had a plan, you didn't have a plan, right? I didn't have a plan how to deal with this. And now you have to develop a plan, right? You're developing competence, right? But revenge is a low level of fun, right? It's more fun than helpless nothing, but it's a low level of fun. But if you get to the point where you could take really impactful revenge, you probably could also do some more fun things as well. By that, you're in shape, you've figured out a plan, you've organized some money to hire the hitman or whatever. You could then do something else, right? So it's about moving towards consciousness, towards competence. And the most conscious and competent person imaginable, right? They try different things with their competence because a really competent person can create whatever they want. So they try a little revenge and it gets tiring, right? Or they try a little controlling and dominating. And it's more fun to control and dominate people than it is to be dominated in most cases, right? But it's, ultimately you look for something more, right? You look for something more. It's like, I'd like to make someone happy who I care about. I'd like to protect this person from pain. And I succeeded. That's just more fun, right? I'd like to go on a picnic and have it all work out well. That's more fun than, shooting an animal just for the stuff, I did it, right? Or I sent a thought out and they died, right? Maybe more fun than feeling bored and useless, but not as fun as, I gave out love and everyone laughed and smiled and it was a beautiful moment. And I brought that moment longer and longer. That's more fun, right? I figured out how to do that. So good luck, Dane, and take care.